All right, let's just jump right in. I want you to think for a second, what was the last fight you had with your partner? Was it some huge, life-altering decision? Or, and be honest, was it about the way they squeezed the toothpaste, from the middle? Or a wet towel on the bed? Or maybe it was that one dirty dish just sitting right next to the sink. Again.
I see you. If you're nodding along right now, maybe with that little, yep, been there smile, you are so not alone. It's gotta be one of the weirdest things about relationships, right? One minute you're fine, the next you're practically screaming at the person you love most in the entire world, all because they bought the wrong brand of milk. And then afterward, when your heart stops pounding, you just sit there thinking, am I losing it? Did I really just have a total meltdown over milk?
Okay, so let's get into it because this is actually fascinating. Get this. Relationship experts, people who study this stuff for a living, have found that almost 70%, 70, of the conflicts couples have are what they call perpetual problems. I mean, think about that. These are the same exact issues that come up again and again and again, usually about the most ridiculously small, everyday stuff. So if you feel like you're stuck in a loop having the same argument on repeat, well, congratulations, you're totally normal. You're in the majority.
But here's the secret. This is the key to this whole thing we're going to unpack together. It is never about the towel. I'm going to say that again. It is never, ever about the towel. It's not about the milk. It's not about the toothpaste or the socks on the floor. Nope. Those things, they're just the symptom. The real problem, the real fight, is about something way deeper, something hiding just beneath the surface.
And that brings us to what I like to call the trivial fight illusion. See, the problem isn't that you're fighting about something small. The problem is that you think you are. In psychology, they talk about this difference between the content of a fight and the process. So the content, that's the what. The trash wasn't taken out. But the process, that's the how and the why. It's about what that forgotten trash bag actually represents.
So really, what's happening here is something called symbolic conflict. It's a fancy term, but the idea is simple. When you totally lose it because your partner left their socks on the floor for the 50th time, you're not actually mad at the socks. Come on. You're reacting to what those socks now symbolize. In your mind, those socks have basically turned into this giant, flashing neon sign that says, I don't care about your need for a clean space, or my time is more important than yours, or maybe even, you'll just clean it up anyway. The socks aren't socks anymore. They're a symbol for feeling completely ignored and disrespected.
And this is a perfect example of something called cumulative annoyance. You know the saying, the straw that broke the camel's back? That's exactly it. I mean, the first time you saw the socks on the floor, you probably thought, oops, they forgot, no big deal. The 10th time, okay, now it's getting annoying. But the 50th time, that's it. That's not just an annoyance anymore. That feels like a declaration of war. It feels like cold, hard proof that they just don't listen, that what you need doesn't matter. And so you attack the socks, right? Instead of saying what's really going on, which is, hey, I feel totally undervalued right now.
Okay, so if it's not about the socks, what is it about? To really get it, we have to look below the surface. And the absolute best way to picture this is with an iceberg. You know how the part you actually see sticking out of the water is just this tiny little tip? Well, our arguments are exactly like that.
So check this out. That tiny tip of the iceberg you can see, that's the trigger. That's the dirty dish, or them being 10 minutes late, or that tone of voice. But the real action, the massive hidden part of the iceberg under the water, that's the real issue. And usually, these big, hidden issues boil down to one of a few core needs. Maybe it's about a need for respect and recognition. The real question isn't, why is the dish there? It's, do you even see everything I do around here? Or maybe it's about a need for care and closeness. The subtext is, do you still care about me? Are you thinking of me? And sometimes, it's about power and control. The fight is really about, do I even have a say in our life together?
The legendary relationship researcher John Gottman has this brilliant way of explaining this. He calls it the emotional bank account. Think about it like this. All day long, you and your partner make these tiny bids for connection. A bid can be anything. A quick smile, a heavy sigh, or even just saying, hey, look at that cool bird outside. Now, if your partner turns toward you, if they smile back or look at the bird, that's a deposit, ka-ching. But if they ignore you, if they just keep scrolling on their phone, that's a withdrawal. It feels like a tiny rejection. And when you've had a whole week of withdrawals, a whole week of ignored bids, your account is empty. So when they forget the milk, it doesn't feel like a small mistake, it feels like a massive betrayal. You're not mad about the milk, you're mad because you're emotionally bankrupt and just desperate for a deposit.
All right, so we get the psychology, right? The iceberg, the bank account. It all makes sense. But what is actually happening inside our brains that makes a simple chore feel like a 5-alarm fire? Let's get a little nerdy for a second and look at the neuroscience behind a stupid fight.
So you've basically got two parts of your brain at war with each other in these moments. On one team, you've got the prefrontal cortex. Think of this as your calm, cool, logical CEO. It looks at the situation and goes, okay, it's just a dish. We are not in danger. But on the other team, you've got the amygdala. This is your ancient hair-trigger security guard. And the amygdala, well, it doesn't do nuance. It sees a threat, even just an emotional threat, and it smashes the big red panic button.
And this is the mind-blowing part. Your brain can literally mistake a dirty dish for a saber-toothed tiger. Seriously. Because if that dish represents that deeper issue, like my partner doesn't care about me, your amygdala interprets that as rejection. And way back in our caveman days, being rejected by your tribe meant you were probably gonna die. So your brain does what it's programmed to do. It floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart starts pounding. Once it goes over about 100 beats per minute, you're officially in a state called flooding. You are biologically hijacked. Your body's ready to fight for its life. But the threat is just a wet towel. And that's when the logical CEO part of your brain just locks out. It's offline, which is exactly why we say things we instantly regret.
So, how do we stop this craziness, right? I mean, nobody wants to break up over how to properly load a dishwasher. The good news is there's a way out. There are actual science-backed tools we can use to stop the fight before it even starts and actually connect instead.
Okay, let's get super practical. Here are 3 steps you can actually use the next time you feel that rage building over something tiny. Step 1, find the why. Seriously, before you even open your mouth, just pause and ask yourself, what's the story I'm telling myself right now? Maybe the story is, they just don't respect me. Okay, so share that. Say something like, hey, I know this is gonna sound weird, but when I see the towel on the floor, the story I make up in my head is that my time is invaluable to you. See how that instantly changes everything? It's not about the towel anymore, it's about the feeling. Step 2, start soft. The research on this is wild. 96% of fights end on the same note they start on. So if you start with an attack like, you never take out the trash, well, you know how that's gonna end. Instead, try this super simple formula. I feel about what and I need. So it sounds like, I feel really overwhelmed when the kitchen is a mess. I would love it if we could clear the table together. No blame, no attack, just your feeling and what you need. And finally, step 3, and this is huge, hit pause. If you feel your heart racing, your face getting hot, you're flooded. Your security guard brain is in charge. Nothing good is gonna happen. Just agree to take 20 minutes, that's it. Go for a walk, put on some music, whatever. Just give your body time for the adrenaline to fade and for your logical brain to come back online.
At the end of the day, these little fights, they're just smoke signals. They're telling you there's a deeper fire somewhere. They're really just cries for respect, for help, or for validation. So the next time you're about to declare all-out war over a toothpaste cab, just stop, take a breath, look at this person you love, and ask yourself, am I fighting against them, or am I fighting for us, for a better connection? Drop the verbal weapons and just try being vulnerable. Say what you're really feeling, because you really have to choose. You can win the argument, you can be right about the dishwasher, or you can be happy and connected, and you very rarely get to be both. So what's it gonna be?